This guy, Craig Ford, I mean, he works hard. He worked for everything that he got. You know, he's not even in the same fucking solar system and isn't even the same fucking galaxy to make $1 billion. You know, he doesn't appreciate science. He thinks that going to an AA meeting where how many people go in and don't stay? He's not even capable of seeing feedback, let alone being able to internalize it, understand it, and then act differently. He continues to do the same thing for what, 20 years now? 25 years now? Like, I don't want to quote, someone who's smart, Einstein, I don't want to do that, but insanity's doing the same thing over and over and over again and telling people, like, I'm gonna abridge Einstein a little. Well, he was in a different language, so we don't know if it fully translated. I'm gonna go ahead and say that insanity's doing the same thing over and over and over and telling people it works. I mean, maybe it works for him. Maybe it works for Bicky Buggy. But, you know, if it's not working for other people, it certainly shouldn't be fucking working for me. That's the fucking bottom line. There's no other way to look at it. If it's not working for other people, then certainly not working for me. And we can see that with his rest on your laurels fucking faggot house. You know what I mean? We can see that. Uh, you know, that it works out for a couple people up there at the top of the hill. And by the way, I'm sure Shia LaDouche, probably goes to private meetings. Yeah, they keep these things very private for themselves. Now, the United States Constitution, on the other hand, we're going to flip open to one of my favorite passages. It's called Amendment 1. Freedom of religion, speech, and the press. Rights of assembly and petition. Congress shall make no law. Congress shall make no law. But code, machine code, that's a deeper law. So Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. That means that Congress has the freedom to make a ton of laws that disrespect your religion. Respecting an establishment of religion. Sorry about that. Respecting an establishment of religion. AA is an established religion. Okay, they fully understand that Wells Fargo manager who says sometimes we skin scouts out there. Sometimes we skin scouts of a mattress maker. Oh, sorry, mattress hustler, mattress middleman. We send scouts out there and they come back with a blown off leg to tell us maybe we shouldn't be fighting anymore. So, that was all within federal was all within federal. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise thereof. Yeah. Or now that goes to show that, let's talk about it. Is Scientology a religion? Do you have to pay to get to the next level? Yes. So it's not free exercise. So Scientology is obviously, well, there you go. Or abridging the freedom of speech. Abridging, right? Oh my God, dude. Do these words even mean the same thing now? Or of the press. Abridging the freedom of speech or the press. Now, the fact that all media out there is profit motivated, which we know that Robert Kiyosaki has been generous enough to help conservative men who want to run their own business see that they can be socialists in their own right. They don't have to have the government decide. They can give money to the church. They can do a 7-Eleven in, our favorite city out there, Honolulu, where Obama's from. They can go ahead and do that. But the real truth is that by law, corporations are required to do what's profitable and what's legal. They don't listen to anything. Maybe a small businessman who, is a person who's actually a person, right? Not a corporation person, but a small businessman who is a corporation. Limited liability, whatever. He's probably going to give a lot of money away. He probably just is, because, he'd be a fucking machine if he wasn't. And that's what corporations are. They're machines. So, abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So we can see that that's completely out the window. We don't have media anymore at all. Some guy's trying to sell beet juice, and another guy is trying to sell, what are some of the commercials you've seen? I don't know. We fast forward, we mute them. We don't even listen to those commercials. But regardless, now freedom of the press is an interesting question here, because you could say that by making metaphors, by making stories, and then requiring people to pay to see them could be construed as completely illegal under Amendment 1 here. Because if you really think about it, these people that are making films, making music, and putting it out there are making money off of it. That's not freedom of the press anymore. So we have to actually ask, is media itself free? And what's the cost of an ad? Okay. Or the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, so there's a lot in there, as we can see. We've unpacked it. We could probably go on for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, here at Chicago University and in our wonderful Constitution class again. We go on for a few hours. But what we can't do is allow these private institutions, right, to protect, because this isn't freedom. They don't have freedom of speech. They're private. They're a nonprofit. They're a private school. Now, Berkeley, on the other hand, or any other state school, Georgia, fumbled the ball there on Alabama, didn't you? Any of those, they are, don't drop the peach. Want to see what a taco looks like. Oh my God. Talk about a fucking bunch of faggots. I'll tell you how much. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change the subject here. We're going to cut to a commercial. This episode of Love is brought to you by, you know what? I forget it. Whatever. We're not doing that. The point is that media itself needs to be free. Media itself needs to be free. If it's not free, it's violating the First Amendment. So we can see that NBC, Fox News, all of these things that have to function on cash flow aren't the free speech that we're talking about. So by law, as an executive order, in order to enforce the First Amendment, as president, we could make a executive action that says we're cutting all media that either has a paywall or is dependent on cash flow. Or we could just go in, and cut off the cash flow completely, and we'll, see how long they last. So that right there shows that our First Amendment is being completely violated by private organizations. Now, if we continue along, you can see that this is going to take multiple days to get through if I dissect and analyze it all. So, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, a lot of people don't understand that when they're typing, the way that they're typing, how they're typing, we're actually able, just by someone's typing, and I'm sure that this went back to AOL Time Warner, and we know that we did warn Warner of the cheating, but that's a personal issue. We have books here, so we can see that possibly just by typing and their typing patterns in general, we're actually able to handle a lot of stuff just through artificial intelligence, that we're going to petition a lot of redress of grievances. Now, if we go down to Amendment 2, right to bear arms, we're going to get into some real hot water here, and thankfully to my uncle, because he has generously supplied his ear. General, right? Here we go. Amendment 2, right to bear arms. Now, let's put this on the precipice. Okay, we have the right, our tax dollars should be going to support a strong military, and that's it. That's the beck and call of the guys working in trucks with blisters on their hands, and it's not really the beck and call of the people that are getting sent to Merrill Lynch or Bank of America or Goldman Sachs or whatever. By the way, there was one guy who did a Petco merger. Ooh, big deal. Okay, real big deal. Wow, I merged some companies and made $1 billion. Hold on here. You didn't make anything. It's not real. Okay, you want some home cooked meal, guy who wants some of my money? How about a fucking barbecue, dude? I'll wrap it in bacon. I'll wrap that fucking pork loin in bacon. Stick it right on the grill. Okay, here we go. Amendment 2. Right to bear arms. Okay, so a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So what that's kind of saying is that the military-industrial complex is handling your business for you, okay? Those are voluntary citizens who went in, and they joined the military, and they got a gun, and that was it. Okay, that doesn't mean that average Joe Schmo gets to hold a fucking gun in his pants all the time, And that's the end. That's the whole amendment right there. That's the whole thing. Okay, I can put it on there. There you go. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Got a lot of syllables. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's 27 words. We have 1, 2, 3 commas and 1 period. So what this really is saying is that the military-industrial complex and the police are the citizens that should have the guns. It's not some random fucking jackoff burning fucking bullets in Sons of Anarchy out in the fucking redneck hills. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me call myself a faggot. I didn't mean to break a code there. He broke a code. Okay. That shall not be infringed. So with those first 4 words, a well-regulated militia, that, seems to be regulated, so we can go ahead and just, right to bear arms. These are the free people who have the guns, and so if you're a private citizen that has guns, you're kind of like a private guy, who is sitting in jail or something, because you're not in the club, you're not in the brotherhood, you're not in this guy's club. Let's put him up. See, this is a normal citizen, right? He's not in the club. Maybe he makes some sushi, right? And there's another thing, I don't want to get out there into, this is about America right now, but people in Japan, average citizens, aren't allowed to have guns. Now, that's kind of like what the Second Amendment is saying. A well-regulated militia, being the police officers, being the National Reserve, Guard, Army Reserve. In Japan, they're not allowed to have that, but they certainly can have sushi knives, and those are fucking sharp. Okay, so there we go. Now, if you are someone who's not in the club, and you have a gun, then you're not really in the club. I don't know if that logic makes sense. We're going to cut to a break. Mimi Page's logical... Not going to do that anymore. Okay, so now we're on to Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in the time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed. And now I'm just going to remember to, actually, let's look at what those commas mean in the Second Amendment. So, a well-regulated militia shall not be infringed. We can actually take those two clauses out, given that there's a comma after militia. So those two clauses in there, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms. Okay, so that could be interesting there. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But those are two bullet points to the well-regulated militia. So let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask it. Do free citizens that go through the training to become a military person, that go through the National Guard training, are these people well-regulated? And are they free citizens? And are they there with guns and arms? Yes, they are. So that's your Second Amendment. That's your Second Amendment right there. Now, being necessary to the security of a free state, now that's kind of a little that's a little gray area there, because, if someone walks up to me, right, with a little scowl in their eye, that's a violation of the First Amendment. They should be able to walk up and scowl without getting shot. So, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead in here, shall not be infringed, right? Now, copyright infringement is another issue, but that's not what we're talking about here. So a well-regulated militia, the police, the National Guard, the Army Reserve, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the military-industrial complex, the nuclear bombs that were made in Berkeley at Lawrence Livermore Labs, the nuclear bombs were made, all of this stuff is part of the well-regulated militia. Okay, so that doesn't mean that a random Joe should go around with a nuclear bomb, a random Joe should go around with a shotgun, a random Joe should have any kind of fucking thing. Now, we do need to keep the deer problem under control. They're eating our vegetables, we don't, where are we supposed to put barbed wire up for fucking 15,000 miles? No, we need people to get out there. So we need a well-regulated militia to go in and take out the elk in Rocky Mountain National Park. There's no question about it. They're just destroying the entire ecosystem there. We need a well-regulated Green New Deal style, go in there and take out some deer. That's absolutely necessary. That's regulation right there. So there we go. Do we need a Chernobyl area, where people can't go at all? Absolutely too. So we're going to get into here. Amendment 3. Okay. Housing of soldiers. All right. So no soldier shall. Okay, we got a comma. All right. We're going to skip over that comma. And we're going to skip over the second comma. No soldier, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Okay, so no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, This is going to be an interesting thing. We're going to test this when my mom wakes up. I'm going to ask, do I have your consent to be here? Now, let me ask you a question. Let's go back to Craig Ford. Let's go back to Craig Faggot Ford. One faggot meeting to another faggot meeting. You fucking bitch. Without consent of the owner. Okay, so we can see right now here that sober living environments are a complete fucking nightmare. We have a war on drugs. We've declared a war on drugs. These people should, actually be able to go into any house that's, owned, borrowed, stolen, mortgaged, foreclosed, bombed, whatever, right? Now a billy sack or gunny sack or whatever, a little, they're these, they're like a shell. And you go inside of it and it rains and you stay dry, whatever. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So legally, this is a freaking this is a complicated one. No soldier shall, in the time of peace, be quartered in any house. So, no soldier. A lot of these people, they go on and on. They go on and on about how, if we get rid of cursive, if we get rid of cursive, we're not going to know what's in the Constitution. But, can you tell me what Amendment 8 is? Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Now, I think that we can easily see that excessive bail is always happening. Now, I don't know, okay, because it's a little hard to tell since there's multiple currencies out there, if people have money in the Cayman Islands or not. But, if you're part of a drug cartel, if you're part of some kind of organization, okay, excessive bail shall not be required. So if you're selling drugs and all that money's going back to some Mexican cartel, then obviously excessive bail, since those people could easily bail you out. And in the DARE program, they were very clear. When you go to jail for what you've done, your friends disappear. They suddenly don't really care. Now, I'm not an expert in that. I don't have the experience. We can have other people speak to that, but it's a question. So let's go back to Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in the time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, or in the time of war, in a manner to be prescribed by law. That doesn't, to me, what I'm reading there is simply that you never have to put me in a house. That, we could be fighting a civil war here. We could be fighting a national war. We could be fighting any war. And whether that's in the time of peace or whatever, that person always sleeps outside. And what I'm wondering is how this could be ascribed to slaves. Because we went through a time of war, a time of civil war, where the South tried to secede. Yeah. If someone can just secede for any reason, then none of this shit matters. But this is a very clear one. Amendment 3. No soldier, in peace or in war, shall be allowed to stay in a house unless it's prescribed by law. Okay, so what's a mortgage? Did they have mortgages back then? I don't think so. So technically, since we have declared war on drugs, we've declared war on a lot of different things. Um, when the foreclosures roll, then Congress can make a law with the bank whether people should be allowed to stay in those houses or not. Now, we know that there's severe consequences for vandalism, absolutely severe. Mylu down there saying how much importance it is to protect private property. If the bank holds your property, right, indeed, they're going to pull that thing out quick. Now, there are probably a lot of drug dealers out there who have connections to the cartels that can run in and buy it for cash, and then they just own it flat out. Have you ever seen like a busy intersection where there's all these different cars going different ways and stuff? That's kind of like what we're dealing with here. So, okay, so we know that now. If people lose their homes, they can go, have Congress make some kind of law. Maybe they'll get to go back and live in them or not. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. So here's Amendment 4. Now, this is a very interesting one. Searches and arrest warrants. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things seized. Okay, so that's interesting. So you have the right to be secure. Now, as you know, all of this data is on a private network. It's privately owned. It's not state run. We don't have any state media. PBS would be the closest thing. NPR would be the closest thing. But they get money from banks. They get a lot of money from banks. So even they aren't fully autonomous. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. So, if there's a big corporation that has millions of people, not just here in the United States, but worldwide, I think it's pretty reasonable to investigate what they're doing. I think it's pretty reasonable because if we just let, some guy who can buy over 300 acres in Hawaii from collecting all your personal data in a form of malware, which, what does malware mean? It's something that goes into your computer, takes your information, pulls it out. Then we have a serious, serious situation on our hands. We have a ton of situations. The main situation being that, one guy is controlling the majority of the world's private information. He's got all of their personal stuff. He's got all of their personal stuff, right? He's got their private Gmail as well. You thought that Facebook was bad. Gmail's got everything ever done. So, I think it's pretty reasonable that we, search what these people are doing because, to have pretty much the entire world's information in your hands and not have any governmental, check on that'd be pretty insane. Shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things seized. So, the place to be searched, this is an interesting situation. Does or would the post office, and I know that there's going to be a lot of cases. I forget the name of it. It's ex parte, de facto, quorum, blah, 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 la-di-da, or whatever. Do these situations that we're in right now, if through a fiber optic cable we're able to send massive amounts of information both under the ocean, etc., these are various situations. Do we have the right to open people's mail and look at it and then put it in an envelope and continue it on its way? Well, during the anthrax terror plot, I believe at that point it was pretty clear that we were going to have to just, POP3 these people, which is email format. Okay, great. Great. Moving on to Amendment 5, and we'll take a break. Okay. Rights in criminal cases. Oh, and by the way, for Amendment 4, your key typing, the way that you type, is logged as well. So that's actually critical because that can show a lot about your mental health right there. So no person shall be held to answer for any capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. Except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia. When in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, or shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor shall private property be taken. Okay, so this is an interesting situation. Now, if Craig Ford wants to plead the fifth, I don't think he can do it. I really don't think he can do it here. Because if you look at it, it says, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Well, that's a situation with Trump, is that he is being, tried twice. So, this is very serious. I mean, quite frankly, in this situation, with a real organized and, well-regulated militia, those juries that are sitting there, they're violating the Fifth Amendment. And that's very bad. So, okay, so nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that oh boy. Or be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Have you ever been compelled to be a witness against yourself? Now, if the case is against me for doing something wrong and Craig is implicated into that, then he's not testifying on behalf of himself, he's testifying on behalf of me, which there means that, according to Judge Judy, when they find that out through one trial, they're going to come after him. So there's an issue right there. And again, we've already discussed it. AA, NA, terrible, terrible casino in Las Vegas. This is a sad situation. This is a dangerous situation. We're having a tough time thinking about it. But the point is that if these fucking idiots would have given up their fucking golden horseshoe of shit and, stop trying to fix their problems with the 1930s doctor's opinion, right? It wasn't even a fucking diagnosis. It wasn't a rule out. It wasn't anything. It was an opinion. That's it. Okay? If they would just give up, then people who actually are smart could go in and solve the problem. Now, look, if you're a fucking 300-pound old man who goes out and pulls tuna out of the water because he's, such a stupid fat idiot that he can't even see that these tuna are endangered species and we should probably save them for people that are higher up on the food chain, such as like the dictator of North Korea. If this little puppet fucking bitch thinks that, oh, we can solve our problem, why is he even alive? Like, why is he even alive? You know what I mean? Like, someone just go ram a fucking bottle of Hennessy down his throat or something. You know what I mean? See if God can save him after that. Oh my God, this is so fucking frustrating. Let's get back to pleading the fifth, right? Plead the fifth, your fifth step. KKK, Triangle KKK Club. Now, this is the kind of stuff that they bring in to mental health hospitals. This is it. I would wager to guess that people don't know how to solve the drug problem, and that's because they declared war on it. Now, private property can be taken for public use with just compensation. But it doesn't actually say that. It says, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just. So there it goes again. Another handout to the banks. The banks can go in, take private property through the mortgage system without compensation. So, beat you there too. Okay, so those are our first 5 amendments. We'll probably pick up this class again in Amendment 5, which is on the 24th page of our book that doesn't look like it's really useful anymore. But we're gonna jump back in there. So this Chicago University Chicago Spanish Dictionary Constitution class has been adjourned for the day. We'll see you. I heard that they're baking cinnamon rolls out in the quad. So, be sure to spend a little bit of your hard-earned loans on those. And for anyone in the medical side, be sure to tell them that actually just look at them weird, and then they'll look at you like they'll understand that you're not going to have much of a job going forward. So, don't let the door hit you on the way out of this class, and we'll see you next time.